and welcome to my first episode of Geeks with Glue Guns. Today we will be making little heart container soaps from one of my favorite games, Legend of Zelda. For this project, you will need clear glycerin soap. I'm using about a pound, but you may need less. Some scent if you desire any. Mine is almond honey. Some soap colorants. We'll be using red and blue. Stirring sticks. 2 different sized heart cookie cutters, a big one and a small one, preferably metal. 2 bowls, a big one and a small one. A little spritzer filled with rubbing alcohol. A sharp knife and 2 paper plates. Plus wax paper to keep your station clean. So first you'll have your soap and you'll want to cut it into pieces. For this project, the small heart will take about 4 of these chunks, which is about 1/4 pound. The big heart will take about 8 of these squares, which is about 1/2 pound. I will be using some of my leftovers from the project of yesterday just to save on some of the fresh stuff for a project maybe in the future. First, we need to start on the red heart. You'll put your cubes in, and I will be using some of my scraps, and you will microwave them for 30 seconds at a time until completely melted. So what you want is nice, clear fluid. You want to make sure there's no chunks. Mine has the slight color in it because of my scraps, but it's still not the desired red that we want. For your dye, you put in 1 drop at a time till it is the color that you wish it to be. I used about 3 to 5. Nice rich red. And don't forget to add your scent if you have any. This one requires about 5 drops per ounce. So about 4. But there's already some in there, so I'll do 3. Make sure to stir it. That smells so good. Soap, soap, soap. So to save on using less soap, found a little trick where you take a little bit of soap and pour it in the center of the plate. Just kind of a little circle. Then you take your small cookie cutter and place it there. You want to let the soap seal it in. You have to watch your soap a little bit. Sometimes it will get clumpy on the top from it sitting. You just want to keep it stirring to make sure you don't get a lot of clumps, and if you do, I just kind of scoop them out. Make it so it's not so cloudy. You have to think, if I'm spilling soap, am I cleaning it or am I making a mess? So now see that I can move the cookie cutter where the jiggles the plate. So you want to make sure that this isn't too hot, but you want to make sure that you're not getting that film on top, because that'll make it cloudy. And we pour it in. Till it's about full. To help keep the foam foaming on top so it stays crystal clear, take your rubbing alcohol and do a quick spritz on top. So now we have to wait for this one to be completely hardened before we can add it to our bigger piece of heart. So now we've waited for it to dry. Took about 30 minutes because how small it is. And we're just going to carefully pop it off. And then you press down from the bottom. Just make sure not to cut your fingers on the cookie cutter. It might be a little bit rubbery. Just make sure that it's fully set. Just pop right out. There we go. So there we go. We have our first little heart. And now we have to do the same exact thing for the blue. So after putting in a couple segments of 30 seconds, the bowl is very hot. But you make sure it's all clear. For this, we will use about 8 drops of fragrance. I'm using a little bit less because I had a little bit in there. But I did use half a pound of soap for this batch. And then to give it a little, it's got a little bit of the blue in there, but to give it a little bit of the blue color, I want 1 little drop of blue because you don't want it to be too strong. You want it to be just hinting. Make sure it's mixed thoroughly. You don't want any streaks. Now, this is the important part for when you're doing this. You want to make sure that the soap is warm enough where it's still liquidy, but you don't want it to be so hot where it's going to melt your little heart, because then it'll just become a blob and won't look like a heart piece. So it's still a little warm. Make sure to get those foams off. That should be good. So the bowl's still really warm. So now that we have our blue all mixed and stuff, we're ready to perform the same thing we did with the little heart. We're gonna pour a little thin layer down. Make sure it's there and stick it hard in the middle and kind of let it sit for a little bit so it has a full seal around it. There, wait. Keep stirring it, make sure it doesn't get any buildup on the top and stays evenly warm. Okay? That feels good. Should be able to move it around like that. I'm going to not want to put it straight on there because you'll get bubbles underneath and it won't look as good. So what you'll do, we're going to pour another layer in and just kind of at an angle slide it there so it's nice and flat in the center to earth position. So, gonna pour our little layer in there and stick our heart piece in. Then spritz it so the other soap sticks to it well and there's not a lot of air bubbles. And then I'm gonna pour the rest of it in, just so it just barely covers the top. And if you get these little white clumps of, you know, the film that was already drying, just quickly do a little cleanup where you can take a little popsicle stick and clean it off. And 1 to 2 spritz to help get rid of the bubbles. So we have to wait about 40 minutes for it to completely dry and get hard. Then we can take it out of the bowl. Might take that time to go play some video games. So we've waited and now it's time to take it out of the cookie cutter. So again, we're gonna peel it off the plate. So we're gonna get it out. Ta-da! We have our little Zelda heart piece, and I would put a little tag on it. This is your important piece of my life. Video game humor. So if you like this video, click on like, thumbs down if you didn't. If you have any ideas for future videos, put them in the comments below. I'd love to hear them. And thanks for watching.